Okay, welcome back. You can see here the very large final for Great Wave getting started, underway. Here's the smaller color study that I just completed a little while ago. Remembering that you don't have to use naturalistic colors, you can use arbitrary colors, and arbitrary colors, not necessarily accidental, but just colors that you think work well together, colors that you particularly like. It isn't that you have to have a certain combination of colors in mind when you start, but you naturally gravitate, I think, towards one or two colors initially, and then you build every other color on the piece of paper in response to those initial colors. Now here I have a great wave in front of this brown earth tone volcano, a very broad shield volcano like we find in the Hawaiian Islands, and then a yellow background that kind of ties together all the bits of pieces of sky that peek out from behind the different portions of wave. Now I'm going to go ahead with a green. Let me find a green and turn the paper in a way that allows me to get the green where I want it to be. I'm right-handed, so here I come in from the right. Visual check of that tip makes me think that that green's about ready to run out, but not too bad right now. And you can see how really generous I am with the color and exactly how precise I can place it right up against the edges I want without any mistakes, only because I've positioned the paper in a way that makes it easy to apply the color just where I need it. Now, I'm using this big broad band of green. Okay, it's a fairly light green. I'm going to go ahead and introduce a different green in a little bit. Let me come on around here with this. You know, if that green kind of wraps around in itself creates a line, a green line wrapping around and moving down, that will help to emphasize the movement in the wave. So I'm going to snap the cap on that and grab this darker green because I think I want to blend the two together. Again, turning the paper in a way that allows me, coming in from my right, to put the color exactly where I want it to be. So you can see how important it is with your left hand, if you're right-handed, with your left hand, to steer the paper just the right way to get the color where it needs to be, okay? And I'm being super generous by using a lot of that color as well. Remember, you got quite a bit of surface to cover here, so just be generous with the amounts that you use. I'm gonna bring those two greens together there, get some overlapping and blending going on there. Be generous with the green right here, right here. Let's see, where else might I want to have a little bit of green right there. I think I'll go with that. Here, let's go right here with that. And snap the cap and let's get ready to go. Now that's a very big area that I just applied pigment to, marker color to, and I'm going to use a big brush, a number 10 brush, because it is the biggest brush I've got, and that is a big area. So I didn't even bother taking water out of the brush. I'm just going to use a fairly loaded brush, a brush that has a lot of water in it, and just make sure that water gets spread around. You can't have too many puddles. Use the tip of the brush to get into that point. Being cautious. Notice I'm not scrubbing the floor, okay? I'm being real gentle and being very careful about the placement of that tip and the direction that I'm pulling the brush, the way I'm turning the paper. Now it's going to have a watery effect, but you know what? Your subject matter is water, so I guess that's probably okay if you have kind of a watery effect to this. Again, turning the paper in ways that allows you easy access. I'm going to load that brush up again. Probably not take any water out of it. That's a huge amount of water I just put down there, but that's good because look at this big area that I plan on pulling that color into. Now it could be that later on I'm unhappy with some of these greens. When they dry, I can still go back in and do some more painting. I'm going to just fade this green out here and here. To do that, I just wash the brush, remove all the water, use the water, clean brush, and the water that's already on the paper, just to kind of maneuver color. There's a little mistake there. I'm going to wipe that across there, back in with my dry finger, and dry my finger off on the towel. And let's see, where else can I do a little bit of correction? I think it's okay the way it is. It's not out of control. I stayed within my lines. There's some interesting color blends going on between the light and the dark green. The colors will continue to blend as the water dries. But I'm just going to leave that alone for right now. Because that's wet, I don't want to go anywhere near it right at the moment. I might be coming back down here for a little bit. Now, I like the darkness of this, so I'm going to go again with some dark right there. I like the neutrality. That would be the brown, earthy tone of the distant volcano there. I'm going to introduce a warm color, an orange, but then I'm going to neutralize that orange with its complement here in a little bit. And that happens to be blue. which is a cool color. And what I should get out of that would be some warmth down there, similar to what I see in the volcano itself, okay? So remembering that if you can understand the color chart, understand how to mix colors, you can use that to your advantage. Here comes the blue. Notice I turn the paper in a way that allows me correct placement of that blue right up against that edge, right up against that edge. Careful to cut around small details that I don't want to lose. I think I'll go ahead and carry that up into this area here, this area here. You can see how where the blue and the orange cross, they kind of make a brownish green or an olive green color. That is definitely a neutral. Now let's get in there with a brush of water and see what happens. I had my 10. I don't think I'm going to use a 10. I think I'm going to switch back to an 8 just because of all the twists and turns. Go in there with the wet brush right up against that edge. Remember, tip of the brush right up against the edge so you have some control. Get that edge, get that edge. Now I'm going to turn the paper. You can see the browns sorting themselves out now where the orange and the blue neutralize one another. That was kind of what I was looking for, that neutralization. Those earth tones are beautiful. Okay, you turn it this way again. You can see the point of the brush coming into that area, point of the brush coming into that area, point of the brush coming into that area. Be sure you have plenty of room to work. Point of the brush taking care of that little mistake there, or that little missed place. Point of the brush, point of the brush. Okay. Kind of beautiful to not let them totally blend. Let them blend on their own. Get back over here. 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 Okay, I'm glad I used the number 8 brush because the number 10 would have been kind of big for all that small changes of angles that I had. Just going back and touching a few more areas up. And I think I'm going to leave that be. And the colors will continue to move with the water as the water dries, as the water moves and settles and dries. You can see inadvertently up here a little salt spilled in some of the green. And that created a nice effect. It wasn't intentional, it just happened by chance. I think there might have been a granule or two of salt there. That little bit of salt kind of mimics what you see a great deal more of over here and down here, okay? Now, not done yet, gonna rinse that brush. You know, I'm looking at some of these whites right here and thinking I might leave some of those whites in there. I kind of think it's quite beautiful to have white, like the light from the sun flashing bright and white off the top of a wave. So it's very possible leaving some of those whites in there. Maybe not all the whites. I don't think I'm going to come back and make a decision about those whites right now. I just know that I believe I'm going to have some white in there just because I like the way it sorts itself out. I'm going to continue on, maybe in this area over here, turning the paper to work in this area right now. This might be the last area I do, and not completing this, but again, I might blend some colors. I think the green is dry enough that I don't have to worry too much about my colors blending. That raspberry color is okay. See how it goes right up against the edge there? Okay, I've got that taken care of. Now this color right here, what can I put there? Ooh, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and put a gray in here. A gray is certainly an earth tone, kind of mimics or imitates some of the grays over here. And along with that gray, let's take some of this turquoise blue, this blue-green down here, bring it up. Notice how I turn the paper to get that color right up where I need it to be. Be generous with the amount of pigment. Snap the cap when you're done. Here comes my number 8 brush again. I'm going to remove excess water by pulling against the lip. I've got to be careful not to lay my hand down there in that wet portion. Going to turn the paper again. This is better. I can rest my hand here on the table. So I don't know what new colors I'm getting from this blend. I just know that I'm getting some neutral grays along with the blues. And you know what? I think I'm just going to leave that be. I'm not going to do any more on that. All right. Not done yet, but you can see how close I am, remembering that I can leave white on the surface if I want, but I'm not yet sure how much of that white I'm going to leave. Now, you try.